Thanks, everyone. So this is how to squeeze the most out of professional voice actors. It's daunting enough to consider finding and directing, never mind squeezing things out of voice actors. So I'm here to share my experiences, offer some tips based on the training that I've received so that you can have the most creative and productive session possible. It was not in the not too recent past. You could use the lead programmer's girlfriend to record your audio for the main warrior woman. That's all obviously changing. The climate of audio is changing, and the climate of production values is changing. And you're all here, so you know that voice acting plays a giant part in the production values of your game. So let's start at the beginning, the audition. A little at the end, we're kind of short on time, so I'm going to put the casting notes toward the end because I can kind of shrink those up pretty quickly. But on your side, you have to put together an audition packet for your potential actors. There are two elements to this. There's the script, the lines that they'll read, or the sides. And then there's also a little bit of backstory. You want to clue your actors in to what this game is all about and what the world that your character is living in. If only Angelina Jolie were available. I can't tell you how many times I've received auditions that were 3 lines with a picture of Angelina Jolie, which is very tempting to use a prototype for your main warrior woman, but really all that's going to garner you are some bland Lara Croft impressions. So give your potential actors clues. Talk about the style, talk about the pacing, tell them about your target audience. That actually gives quite a bit of clues. And if at all possible, give them concept art. This is sort of a sticking point right now due to the surge in non-disclosure agreements that we've all been asked, understandably, to sign due to social media. I can't stress enough, however, what even a rough sketch will give you as far as relevant character auditions. It's worth 1,000 words, and it's like gold to a voice actor. Even if your art isn't ready yet, sketch something out for them. If you find yourself having to use multiples, prototypes, you might want to use multiples. So this will kind of give you a little bit more of a three-dimensional character and definitely more interesting characters. I'm going to bring Angelina back for that. Plus add Jenny McCarthy. And can you think what character out there maybe, there you go, Harley Quinn. So just a disclaimer, I don't think that Tara Strong had these two women in mind when she voiced Harley Quinn. This is completely out of my brain, just to make an example. I don't want any rumors started. But what you have here is Angelina Jolie's badassness, Jenna McCarthy's quirkiness, and that makes for a more interesting character. Also, remember, we're just completely newbies to this world. So when describing your world, try to be as descriptive as possible. A castle in Mario's world is very different than a castle in, say, Savage XR. Okay, so something to think about. And now moving on to the script. There are 3 elements you want to include in your script. The first is you want to have lines that show the widest range of emotions. Bring those actors on that roller coaster ride because you want to make sure that that actor can handle what you throw at him during the session. Another thing to think about is adding a couple of generic lines just to see an actor's inventiveness. It's amazing if an actor has a grasp on a character, what they can do with a line like please or how about it. So it has nothing to do with the movement of the action, but it will show what the actor can do with just basic lines. And then finally, you want to add dialogue if possible. This will clue the actor into how the character interacts with other characters, and it will kind of feed what status they have. But on your side, it will see how the actor deals with a very difficult art of wildlining. And what wildlining is it's sort of like having a conversation with no one in the booth. So this is what really separates the lead programmer's girlfriend from the professionals, because it's a very difficult task. You've probably heard that acting is reacting. Well, in the vacuum that we call a sound booth, the actor has to tap into his own life experience and his own imagination to sort of create that character and create the high emotions that you need oftentimes in cutscenes for video games. So does everyone kind of understand that concept of wild lining? It's a good thing. Even if you don't have dialogue in your game, it's a great exercise for your writer, and it's a great exercise for your actor to just throw that in there. Okay, so you've culled through all the auditions, you've put together a brilliant cast, and now it is session day. So the simplest solution to a very stressful proposition is to be prepared. More preparation equals less perspiration. Make sure that you have a clean script with a copy ready for everyone involved. Make sure everyone knows what the process is. They're on the same page as far as what the times are. Check your phone patches. Check your mic setup. Check your levels. Being prepared will relax you, and it will ease the energy in the room. That's kind of San Francisco hippy-dippy to say this, but the creative energy, an actor really can tune into that as soon as they walk in the room. Our job is to be in the moment, and if we walk into a room that's very tense, it's going to make us tense. So try to relax, try to stay as easygoing as possible, and that being prepared will help for that. You don't have to be an actor to get caught up in the energy of a scene. Lose your inhibitions. Allow yourself to nod or make eye contact through the glass to the actor. Being able to play around a little bit will create a trust. It will create an engagement, and creative sparks will fly. Some of you may know Nick Thomas. He's done some talks here at Casual Connect, and he's over at Somatone in Emeryville. I love working with Nick because Nick will oftentimes read the cutscene dialogue with you. So it takes a lot of pressure off the voice actor. But on his side of the glass, he can control the scene. He can control the pacing and the intensity and the volume organically. So go ahead and play along, and you will squeeze even more out of your voice actors, because actors are actors. We want to engage. We don't like that vacuum. So lose it and go for it. Everything will be fine. So how a session works is the actor will run down 2 takes for each line. The director will choose which take he wants to keep. The engineer will notate which take to scrap, and you go on to the next line. So time is money. There's a lot of lines to get through, and so momentum is paramount to this. You have to be decisive. Make a decision and commit to it. On the other hand, you have to be flexible. So Picasso once said, every act of creation is first an act of destruction. It is very difficult to let go of preconceived notions of what this character that you've developed and fostered should sound like. But if you allow yourself to get through that surreal moment of hearing your character coming out of an actor's voice, that actor will, and their interpretation and their life experience will take that character to places you never even imagined. So being flexible will actually allow the creative process to work to your advantage. It's not easy, and I understand these characters are your babies. I totally get it, but try. Yes, meet Walter from shipping. So I was invited to record at a pretty major gaming house, which will remain unnamed. I was brought into the studio, handed a script, and introduced to no fewer than 12 people smushed in behind the engineer, who was sort of looking at me with this deer in the headlights gaze. All that momentum I mentioned before, completely lost. After each take, my mic was muted, and there were 12 mouths flapping at each other, debating which take to keep. It got very tedious. I got cranky. It also messed with my self-confidence. It was a difficult session. They got what they needed, and I'm a pro, but they could have gotten more. And they didn't squeeze out all that they could have gotten from me, because it was just a wall, literally, a wall of people, which put up a wall for me. And again, limit the number of people in the room, and that'll let the creative energy flow through the room. And trust. You want to have a trusting environment. Voice acting is actually really physical. And actors work well to direction that speaks to that. So there's 2 different parts to the physicality. One of them is something that you want to keep your ear out for. In a longer session, an actor, despite himself, will get into a very repetitive rhythm, especially if the lines are very similar in size. keep an ear out for that. All you have to do is say, hey, shake it out a little bit, and the actor will literally shake, and it will change the energy. It'll change where the path that they were going down. And then on the other side of this, as far as direction goes, and this is a great piece of advice that I got from Wes Gleason down at Blind Light. It's an audio service provider in LA. He had an actor who wasn't being menacing. His read wasn't menacing enough. So he suggested, much like this man is doing to poor Olivia Newton-John, that the actor take a knife, imaginary, and carve it across his opponent's face. So there's a difference to having an actor saying into a microphone, "You feeling lucky?" And then having an actor go, "Are you feeling lucky?" You know, I mean, there's more interesting performance there. So speak to their instincts. Speak to an actor's instincts and physicalities, and you'll get a way more interesting performance. It's kind of hard as the voice actor to see from this side and hear their ears and eyes. Okay, so if you are not liking what's happening in the session, if you aren't liking the actor's performance, you gotta say something, and you gotta say something now, because otherwise it's gonna bug you, and you're gonna have to pay for a pickup session. So if you don't like it, say something. On the other hand, if you're loving it, don't say anything. It's okay. It's amazing how many times people will say, well, what about this? Just to feel involved or as if they're paying attention. But you've hired a professional voice actor to make your job easier. So if it's going well, don't say anything at all. Just sit back and relax and enjoy it. It's a perk. Now, you are the ringleader. So you have to make sure that the continuity is complete over the sessions. Within each session, the actor has to stay consistent within his character. He can't lose his accent. He can't age. In the big picture, the actors have to conform with each other. So say you have a 10 a.m. session, and the actor's speaking as if he's on a battlefield, and then you have a 2 p.m. session, and the actress is speaking, sipping brandy in front of a fire or something. Those two files are not going to mesh when you put them together. So this is another reason why reading the cutscene dialogue with actors really helps, because you can control it. You know what happened in that 10 a.m. session, and you can recreate it. You don't have to be great actors, but in a human level, you can recreate the volume and the pacing and the intensity in the 2 p.m. session. Does everyone know that's James Caan, by the way? Thank you. Thank you. I was worried I was going to age myself. So the session is now finished. You've said so long to your voice actors. You're getting back to work. You get into beta. You get into testing. And then it's crunch time. So what does this have to do? What does the release of your game have to do with voice actors? You've already said goodbye to them. So an actor's IMDb ranking or Twitter followers should not trump a better performance. This is my favorite slide. However, an often overlooked marketing tool that developers can use is to tap into this newfound curiosity about voice actors. Gamers are curious, and they are engaging with voice actors all over the internet. And a majority of voice actors are more than willing to oblige with your AMAs or your Q&As or whatever A you want to throw their way. So by engaging with your voice actor at the release, you're going to create an alliance within that social media matrix, and it's a win-win, and you can find a good committed audience that way. So very briefly, I'll go into the casting. There are 3 different options. You've probably heard about the pay-to-play, Voices.com, Voices123. These are very user-friendly. They're very popular among independent producers. I have to be careful how I say this. The caliber of the auditions can't be guaranteed. So you're going to be mucking through a lot in order to find those little gems. The price, the rates range. There's really no rhyme or reason. I've seen them for $50 and I've seen them for $700. You want to just kind of fall in the middle there. You get what you pay for. You get what you pay for. That's all I'm going to say about that. The next thing is breakdown services. Breakdown services has been around forever. I feel like a lot of indie producers don't know about this, but it takes so much of your work out off the plate. Breakdown services has moved with the times. They have a very good website. You don't even have to be a member. to upload your sides. And then what they do, it's magic. They put the auditions out to talent agents. And those talent agents give them to their talent who are going to be strongest in those roles that you're auditioning for. So already that whole vetting process is finished, because a talent agent isn't going to sign a talent unless they have experience and or training. And then to have their strongest talent on what would be your characters. So it's a great little tool. The price range on that, in the Bay Area, you can get an hour worth of a voice actor from $250 to $500, $600. And the difference in that range is pretty much session experience. There's something to be said about someone with more session experience. They can usually get the job done fast. You can get it done in 40 minutes. You can throw them another like Irish nursemaid their way, and then you get a 2-for-1 kind of thing. Someone with a $250 rate might need an hour, the full hour, maybe even an hour and a half to get through all the scripts. And then finally, if you want to even focus your search more, there's always SAG-AFTRA. I know union's kind of an evil word sometimes in indie production. They've come to understand that your budgets are not LA movie style budgets, and they have opened up their own department called New Media. You can check it out on their website. There's something to be said about working with union talent based on what I just said as far as session experience. So I do want to continue this conversation. I forgot. When in doubt, you can always turn to an audio service provider. I wanted to throw that in just because you guys wear so many different hats. It's very amazing. And if you don't feel comfortable wearing this hat, go to an audio service provider. There's Somatone over here in Emeryville. There's Blind Light down in LA. These guys have session experience beyond. They have relationships with talent agencies. They know their talent pool. They know what actors want and need, and all of that experience, its value gives you value beyond budget. So definitely something to think about. And then I do want to continue this conversation. I love the gaming community and I love giving back. So you can get me on my Twitter handles at Lea Gulino. You can email me directly at lea@leagulino.com. If you have any questions, concerns, things that are bugging you, please feel free to engage. And that's about it.